Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Pig, new movie starring Nicolas Cage, directed by Michael Sarnoski, and written by Vanessa Block and Michael Sarnoski. Independent film. A movie that I've heard rumblings of amazing performance by Nicolas Cage. I'm a Nicolas Cage admirer. I'm a fan of a few of his movies. Like, Nicolas Cage is the kind of actor that goes into a movie like Babe Ruth went to the plate, right? He's going to swing for the fences every time. And even a subtle performance like this is still him in a lot of ways, swinging for the fences. And this is I enjoyed the movie. It's an interesting movie. A movie that I never thought, a type of movie that has things that I never thought would be a subject of a film, let alone a subject of a film where you get a performance from one of their leads that's as good as Nicolas Cage's performance is in this. It's a movie about, so Nicolas Cage starts off, you don't know anything about Nicolas Cage, right? You get to know a little bit more about this guy who, at the beginning of the movie, he's a survivalist. He's out in the woods of Oregon, a Portland area. He's out in the woods in his little cabin, and he has a pig. And they go out hunting for truffles, right? He's got a truffle pig. They go hunting for truffles. You see that he's got this dealer kid, this kid that comes, drives to his cabin and trades, supplies and possibly money for these truffles that Nicolas Cage's character gets, which, let me see his character name here real quick. Rob is his character name. I forget his last name. It's weird. Why doesn't IMDb put the full name of the character if they have full names? Anyway, Rob gets these supplies from his kid, who is played by Alex Wolff, Amir. Actually, I enjoy him in a lot of movies. I'm not sure, or maybe TV shows. What have I seen him in? Is he in the Umbrella Academy? No. Jumanji. Never mind. Jumanji. Not that he's bad in Jumanji. He's just not in Jumanji that much. The remake specifically. And the sequel. But Nicolas Cage, great performance. Very subtle. I mean, he's quiet. It's a very quiet performance. He's all homeless looking. My previous favorite Nicolas Cage performance is Adaptation. Not my previous, but one of my favorite Nicolas Cage performances, where he plays two characters. It's also one of my favorite movies. But he definitely swings his bat with all of his energy, and sometimes it's a huge miss. Sometimes it's just so weird and so out there that it's funny how off it feels for the film. This one, it fits. He's like this recluse guy out in the woods. Anyway, somebody comes and they steal his pig, right? Brutal scene. You don't really see much. He returns to the cabin with his pig, and he gets knocked out. So you're kind of like following him. You can't really see much. It's a lot of it is just audio of the pig screaming when these people who come to kidnap the pig, to steal the pig, are leaving, and it's brutal. There's a couple brutally, like, just emotional type scenes, and that one's like brutal. I can't, like, if somebody came in to my house and knocked me out, like, and I'm like in a daze, and all I can hear is my dog just screaming, heartbreaking. And it's the scream of a pig is just it sounds like a child in a lot of ways. And a lot of people, form bonds with pigs like they do, normal pets like dogs and cats. pigs tend to be, from what I've heard of pig owners, and just scientists, I guess, in general, pigs, very intelligent animals, obviously searching out the truffles for Rob. But anyway, so his pig gets stolen. So he asks his connection to take him into town, which he hasn't been in forever, to find his pig. So this movie is about Nicolas Cage trying to find his pig. The crazy parts are when he goes to the city and there's this like dirty underbelly of Portland ingredient sourcing. It's like this weird, like Fight Club-esque situation where he's like in this basement and rich people pay homeless people or poor people or pay whoever, I guess, to just beat them up. And Nicolas Cage goes there because there's a connection of like, I need to find my pig. And it's such a weird scene. It's such a weird scene. Because he gets his ass kicked by this, tiny little businessman who obviously has to get his rage out somewhere. So, beating up homeless people, which they knew his name. Like, they wrote his name. We still don't know yet much of Rob's backstory, right? We know that he lives in the woods. He has his pig. He's trying to find the pig. And then he has a history in Portland. Like, you could tell that he's from there. He knows stuff. He knows people. And then when he writes his name, his buddy Alex Wolf Amir, I think that's the moment he realizes who he's been working for. I believe there's other scenes where it seems like he knew before who he was working for, but you still don't know what his name means. You don't know who he is. So he gets his ass kicked. He gets the information, I guess, and then he goes to this restaurant. And then you see, like, there's this scene where Rob and Amir are in this, like, restaurant, fancy restaurant in Portland, probably, whatever, I don't know. Just the same, some niche restaurant of whatever. And Nicolas Cage asks to see the chef. And, of course, Nicolas Cage knows this chef. And this is where you find out all about Nicolas Cage. Right, you find his character Rob, where he was like this genius chef, and like just the conversation that he has with this chef that runs this restaurant is like, you could tell that this chef of this hoity-toity Portland whatever restaurant is like multiple levels below where Rob was in his peak. And Rob was like this guy, genius guy, who has like these ideas of, the reason why he lives in the forest is because he knows humanity's coming to an end. He knows that like eventually, the world is just going to reclaim itself. Floods are going to happen because of all the icebergs melting and just, the severe weather that's going to happen. And he knows that humanity is not going to last forever. And he wants to spend the last of his humanity in the forest with his pig he's trying to find. So it's this whole movie about him trying to track down the pig. It's like also this like love letter of cooking to cooking in some way. Not only just the love of cooking that Rob has, but also the love for this pig. And they track down different things. They're going back and forth. It's all this, hunting down, clues and whatever. And then they find out who actually took the pig. You actually find out what happens to the pig, and there's this amazing, like, powerful, heavy scene. But overall, I enjoyed the film. It's not like I can see I 100% agree with everybody's discussions about Nicolas Cage's performance. I thought his performance was amazing. It's a subtle performance from Nicolas Cage, which is not something you get quite often. Like, he is not an actor that people would use the word subtle to describe in 99% of his films. Right? Manic, huge, probably used goofy, weird, wacky, Like even in adaptation, it's not like a subtle performance. This is a very subtle, quiet performance. I think it's amazing. I think his performance is by far the best part of this movie. The very weird kind of like underbelly of like restaurant touring and sourcing ingredients kind of a thing. There's a scene where they go to, before they go into town, they go to another mushroom farmer or whatever they're called, a truffle hunter. I don't know what they're called. Or maybe they're just sourcing other ingredients, but it's weird. It's like a weird world. Like the world building in this is similar in some ways to John Wick. Like very unique world building, because you don't see movies that focus on or highlight what it's like for people who are sourcing ingredients for restaurants, or that there's like a sketchy underbelly. So interesting movie. And some, themes of like all is lost. It's like by the time we realize, by the time we approach what we think is the destination, we find out that it's, what's happened, like the snowball has already started rolling down the hill. The loss, the loss of time that the amount of time we have to fix or change anything doesn't matter, because that time has already passed. The tipping point has already passed. You cannot, you cannot reverse the things in this movie, the themes of this movie, especially when it comes to like the pig itself and humanity. Like there's a lot of like symmetry between those two things in this movie. How in a lot of ways it's too late for the pig, but in a lot of ways it's too late for humanity. That what Nicolas Cage fears or predicts is going to happen to the world or to that area is inevitable, and it's too late to stop it. Like we're past the point of no return. But yeah, and his character has this ability to remember every person he's cooked for and every meal that he's cooked for that person, which I could see being a legitimate thing that somebody who makes meals on a lower scale. Obviously, if you're working in a kitchen, you're not always meeting the person that eats your meals, but him being like this elite genius chef, he has this thing that also helps, I'm sure, in this movie, it helps him use food to connect emotionally to somebody he needs information from. There's like this dinner that happens, which the dinner, how they set that dinner up, like Amir is setting up this dinner with his dad, who is supposed to know or, be involved in some way. And the fact that he would say yes in this movie, at the time of this movie, what so far of this movie, by the time this dinner gets set up, doesn't make any sense why the dad would say yes to it. But I get it is a genius chef, so on some levels, like, okay, you can have him cook me dinner. But what Rob does, Nicolas Cage's character, is that he uses the fact that he remembers every meal that he's made and every person he's made a meal for to tap into this guy's head in a way that affects him so much that he's able to divulge. And it's a powerful scene, an interesting scene. Like, you could see maybe music being used, some other things in other movies that have used like a way to like jog somebody's memory of a moment to elicit. I mean, that it's done to manipulate audience members in movies all over the place, but interesting use of it in this movie. Yeah, and there's another interesting kind of character aspect is that Amir has this thing. Like, clearly he's like a kid that was never listened to by himself. He's trying to make his own. He's in the same business as his dad, but has his own business. So trying to forge his own path. Somebody that has always tried to seek the acceptance of his dad, clearly, and of possibly both of his parents, his mom is ill, but they refer to her as dead, or he does. But he has this thing where he speaks to doors. Like before he goes in to have a conversation with his dad, he's like speaking to a closed door that's set, like whispering to it as if. And it's an interesting thing you don't see characters do, but you could easily see that being a trait somebody would have in real life, where it's a way for them to get out what the things that they want to say, the things that they have buried deep inside that they don't feel confident or comfortable or open to talking to that person about. I mean, everybody's had the arguments in the shower that haven't happened yet, where you're talking to yourself. It's similar to that, but it's like in these like speaking to a door, which I thought was interesting as well. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you don't see in a lot of movies, including a performance like this from Nicolas Cage. So on that level, I enjoyed the movie, but on like an entertainment level, on a level where I feel the urge to watch it again, or that I would get something out of it that maybe I didn't get, which I'm sure I would, I don't have that desire to really check it out again. But other than that, I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. And I can totally see why so many people are saying that this is Nicolas Cage. This is amazing. This is an award-winning performance. Not that I care about awards. I think there's far too much emphasis put on awards and pedestals when it's so much of it is marketing and politics. It's ridiculous. But with all that said, amazing performance, and would be happy if he did win this award. I don't know if he's gotten an award. Oh, I think he did for Leaving Las Vegas, which I have not seen yet, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll do a top 5 Nicolas Cage movie draft. That would be a tricky one. All right, but that's it. Pig. It's I watched it streaming. I was able to acquire a link to it, so I'm sure it'll be on video on demand soon. Or in theaters, screening places, movie festivals, who knows? I'm not sure where it is on its release cycle, but I'm sure it'll be streaming soon. And it's worth a watch, if not for Nicolas Cage's performance, just the fact that it's a story that had to be done independently because studios only produce regurgitated properties that have been done in other mediums, including the medium of film. But that's it. Pig, check it out. Get yourself some amazing coffee over at stationhousecoffee.com and follow Station House Coffee on Instagram. That's your place for small batch, single origin, premium coffee brewed in Thetford Center, Vermont, shipped directly to you. Go now to stationhousecoffee.com and order yourself some amazing coffee. And don't forget to follow Station House Coffee. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/Inspired Disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Peace out!